I knew they could do it, man. I knew they weren't going to let me down forever. I didn't think they were going to get their shit together this early on, but the fact that they did really gives me hope for the rest of the season. Young Justice came out with new content this week, and you know what that means? Back to the void. Welcome, everybody. I've missed you. Young Justice Season 3, Episodes 4 through 6. Were they better than Episodes 1 through 3? The short answer is yes, by a long shot. Now, this isn't going to be an outright review of each episode and a breakdown of what they were. It's more going to be the themes of the episodes, how the characters are working in them with evidence cited from the episodes themselves. I'm not as interested in, oh, well, in episode 5, this happened. I'm more interested in the journey that the characters are on and how they're getting from the beginning to the end and where everyone's kind of going as a unit as well as individually with their wants and needs moving forward. Now, I told myself I wasn't going to do any spoilers with these videos, but with this one I think I'm going to have to, because pretty much all of the content's going to be spoilers concerning the episodes themselves. So while I'm not going to be trying to do a rundown list of all the things that are spoilers that I like, I'm just warning you now, if there is a spoiler that I think is relevant that I need to talk about to get my point across about these episodes, I'm going to do it on this one. So that is your spoiler warning. Without further ado, let's get right to it. Now, we all knew that eventually Young Justice Season 3 was going to be good. Of course it was. Season 1 was incredible. Season 2, while it divided some fans, was still a really good thing. And there was no way DC was going to let something that's so important to their name brand right now crash and burn this early on. They ditched the slow burn and most of the plot going forward almost entirely for that of fan service and character interactions. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, that is not a bad thing. In those first 3 episodes, sure there was character interactions and, you know, you got to see everyone meeting up again for the first time. It had been years for them. I mean, hell, it had been years for us since we had seen these characters. So the little bit that we got was nice, but it's easy to tell that it wasn't sufficient for most people. And I'm surprised that it's almost like the creators of the show knew that going into it, because they went heavy with character interactions and callbacks to previous seasons for this entire little set of episodes. And sure, some of the character interactions were super hammy, and some of the one-liners or callbacks to previous seasons were so cringy that they weren't even really worth having in the episode. But you know what? Better than nothing. Better than what they were doing in the first couple episodes, where it felt like it was almost a different franchise. Not just a new development team and a new look, but a different soul. It's good that they got back to what they knew people liked. The heart of the show was always in the fact that it was a team show, and not like the Justice League where everybody was extremely established and had their own fan bases. It was supposed to be a show for characters that, while yes, they did have their own fan bases going into it, it was nothing like that of their adult counterparts. You could latch onto them as a unit because none of them were so strong that they'd be able to essentially run an entire show by themselves outside of maybe Robin, and even that would be a stretch at best. The time skip did wonders in terms of what they could do with character interactions and have it be believable, and this is seen in no better point than in the 4th episode. I was going to say first, but I suppose it's the 4th of the season, and that's between the Harper family, I suppose, at this point. One of the biggest advantages of a time skip that they were able to use to its fullest extent here was characters like who used to be Roy Harper the clone, who now goes by Will Harper, and the fact that he is no longer an alcoholic in this really weird and depressed part of his life. He isn't thinking that he's inferior to anyone else anymore, or the other Roy Harper or Jim Harper. They've all moved on. They've got a new life apart from each other as well as with each other. And that's a development that they could not have done without a time skip or a majority of a season being devoted to it, especially on the case of Will and on the case of the original Roy Arsenal. Will Harper still has a host of problems he has to deal with. He doesn't seem to know where his wife is, or fiance maybe. That was never really made clear. He's dealing with the fact that he's a single father right now, and he's got a business that he's trying to take care of, although realistically the business is actually really good for him. And while there's a certain amount of stress that goes along with running it, it's an aspiration, and it shows ambition that he didn't have in the 2nd season of Young Justice. This is more reminiscent of the confidence and the drive found in the season 1 Roy Harper, but without all the rage and resentment and feeling like there's something to prove. If anything, the 2 years and the addition of really having to, man up and be a father has done wonders for him as a character, and it's really made him more dynamic and somehow even better to the show than he already was before, which is saying something. The original Roy Harper, who goes on to be Arsenal in season 2, also has had a huge character development over the course of the time skip. He also seems much less aggro during situations. He, Superboy, and the Roy that became Will all were these very aggressive, also sort of a toxic masculinity type of character when they were introduced. And all three of them this season especially have shown that, that's not what they are inside, or at least it's not all they are inside. And the reason why this is important is because they can now be a part of a team. Yes, Will and Roy are not a part of the team, and they're not even a part of the Outsiders, but they are part of their own team. It's interesting to see, I'm just going to call them Arsenal for brevity's sake. It's interesting to see Arsenal's development as the sort of like angsty, bratty teenager rebel without the rough edges that he had beforehand. He's almost a reformed rebel at this point. And that's a really cool thing in addition to the show that they required, because Wally had characters like Superboy or Wally West as Kid Flash who sort of filled half of that role each. It's almost like a lateral move in between Superboy and Kid Flash, which is awesome because outside of Nightwing, obviously, they were my two favorite characters of the first two seasons. So it really warms my heart to think that they could almost be the best of both worlds between them, so long as Wally's not in the picture, which, let's just hope. Speed Force, baby. Speaking of Wally West, while he is not in these episodes, unfortunately, it is really cool to see that there is an impact from him still in the show, and not just in a character that you'd expect like Artemis. The toll that it's taken on Dick as just a person, not even a hero, has been shown to be a huge struggle for him. In the first 3 episodes, it was clear that it took a toll on him at the end of the second season, with him, leaving the team and going off on his own. The first 3 episodes, there was still some residual effects that could be seen on him, but it's really in these episodes that it's clear that he is not okay and he has not recovered from the loss of his best friend. It has made him unstable as a person, it has made him unstable as a leader, and it's made him unstable as a hero in some cases. The fact that he and Will Harper have this back and forth where he's using Will as sort of a stand-in for Wally, and Will knows this and calls him on it, is a super interesting thing to do, because it doesn't put either of them on top of the other in terms of an advantage or who's in charge or who's using who. Will knows that Dick is using him as a sort of, not even a stand-in for Wally, but almost as a therapist who is also Wally. And he goes along with it anyway because he knows that that's what his friend needs. And then Dick, knowing full well that his, great plan that he thought he was going to get away with was foiled immediately, he just owned up to it and decided, you know what? We're good enough friends. This is what I need right now. And they were able to work through that together. And that's very interesting because Dick was not in a place to ask for help in the last season. And Will Harper, back when he was Roy, was not in a place to help anyone, least of all himself, in the last season. It is precisely these types of interactions that comic book shows and movies, especially ensemble shows, need more of in order to succeed. We all know these characters. We've grown to appreciate them and adore them. We've seen them grow. We've grown with them. We've struggled with them. So to watch them interact with each other in actual human ways and not be afraid to ask each other for help, being able to joke around while not making a complete absurdity of the situation, all of these things come together to make the show seem more real. And that was what was so great about the first 2 seasons of Young Justice, is that when the characters, the good characters at least, were going through struggles, you sympathized or empathized with them, because even though their circumstances were different, they were struggles that we've all had as human beings. The other characters in this episode also have great interactions that really up the ante for where they're going, and in some cases it makes them way more interesting. And the people that this can be seen in are definitely going to be Brion Markov and Halo, or Violet, I suppose, whichever one she's going by. I guess Violet, really, as the regular name moving forward. They're definitely mirroring the relationship between Superboy and Miss Martian, specifically in season 1 of Young Justice when it comes to Brion and Violet. And it's kind of obvious to almost an insulting extent, although it is really sort of adorable. Like when you see Brion is wearing Superboy's clothes because he burned through his, and they don't quite fit, and there's all that symbolism there. And Violet is so out of touch with everything that's going on, and she's airheaded, but not because she's dumb, just because she doesn't understand what people are like, which is a really good corollary to Miss Martian and how she was dealing with being an Earth. And it's honestly pretty adorable. I didn't think they were going to try and set up a ship this early, a new ship that is. And I didn't think that the characters themselves were going to throw themselves at each other so quickly. It seems like they've known each other for months or years. And that sounds like it would be a bad thing or that it would have been written poorly, but honestly, I'm on board for it. Superboy's taking on what's essentially going to be the mentor role for Brion, and yeah, I'm here for it. I initially thought it was going to be kind of a weird thing and sort of a stretch, but he has grown a lot, and they show it a lot in these episodes, and it helps that Brion is going through a lot of the same problems that Superboy went through. Wow, I didn't even really think of it that way. It has been 7 years since Superboy went through those initial problems. Yeah, he's fully qualified to mentor this guy. Full pass. Even Miss Martian had great development in these 3 episodes. And no, I'm not going into it. She hasn't earned that yet. Skip. Were you also concerned that Barbara Gordon wasn't going to be Oracle? Okay, neither was I. But she's in this episode as herself, and it's incredible. And if you're a Dick Bab shipper, like I am, you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna really make you wonder, why don't these two have a separate show? I could go for that. What's up with Black Lightning? Maybe a ship with the Doctor Lady? Really just plot stuff? Gonna be honest, not a whole lot. Still cool though. The season 2 team almost gets development. They get to go out on a mission. It does give them a little bit more of the development that you wanted from them. But, I mean, it's characters that already had development. It's Impulse, it's Blue Beetle, Cassie's still don't know anything about her as far as the show's concerned. And they pick up one of the bugs from the planet that already has more development than Cassie had all of last season. So while that sucks for her, it's actually really good for him. I am here for that little guy. What blows my mind, what really just busts my gourd, is that the outsiders, who just really got put together in this episode, have more of an interaction than anybody from the team in season 2. And no, I am not counting Impulse and Blue Beetle's relationship because that's 2 guys. That is not a team interaction. Spider-Man has a great cameo in one of the episodes. It's super weird, and it definitely feels jarring. It takes you out of what you're watching. But then Tara shows up and drops a boulder on somebody, so surprise, we're doing part of the Judas contract, except for we just know she's evil this time. Could be interesting to see what type of spin they take on that, because cat's out of the bag. Turns out Uncle Iroh from Avatar The Last Airbender is still alive. He takes Brion to fool school on behalf of Ra's al Ghul, which is sort of an interesting thing for him. You'd think a general would have more going on. But you know what? I'm happy to see him. He looks like he's doing well. Got a cool thing going on with the hair and the eyes. Good for him. He's looking lean. He's looking fit. Good tea, I'm sure. Do you want to know a secret? It's a pretty big spoiler, so if you don't want to know, you should go away right now, because I'm about to get really deep into it and how it hit me right in the heart. Jason Todd's alive in this universe. I don't know why he's part of the League of Assassins. I don't know why he's already the Red Hood in terms of how he looks, but you know what? Screw it, throw it out the window. He is here, and he is an insane person who's got this weird Winter Soldier thing going on in his head. But he recognizes his big brother Dickie. And you know what else? Damien's here too. That's right, we've got all 4 major Robins in the same show in the same universe. You know what? Young Justice is canceled. Get rid of it. Just give me a Batboy show. I'll watch Keeping Up with the Waynes if I have to at this point. You made a mistake, Young Justice. You gave me what I wanted all along, and now I'm just yearning for that. And for Wally West. So yeah, I couldn't tell you a thing about the plot moving forward, especially in that last episode. All I know is the Young Justice universe now includes all four of the Bat Boys. It includes Uncle Ira from Avatar. It includes Spider-Man. And it includes a bunch of Roy Harpers. At this point, it doesn't even need a plot. It could literally just be character interactions and people kicking each other in the teeth every 10 minutes, and I would watch it from here on out. You know what? Maybe I am just a DC shill, but these are the things that I live for as a comic book fan. Isn't it wild to think how just last week Young Justice Season 3 was kind of a meh thing, and now it's the greatest show of all time? I can't believe it got officially dubbed that in the news. Wild, right? 10 out of 10 for the fanboy at heart. For the plot? I don't know, I'm gonna have to calm down before I can give you a real view of the plot. Why would you want that anyway? It's a cartoon, bro. You know what you should do before next week? You should like and you should subscribe because you know you got excited about these episodes, or you at the very least got excited about what I told you about them, and you want somebody that feels you on that wavelength. Or you could even just leave a comment and tell me what a bad reviewer I am, but leave a like anyway. Until next time, you just remain a beautiful empty vacuum in space.